All right, so like I said, we're going to build our reference sheet. So we're going to start with the parabolas. So remember that there's two kinds of parabolas. One is that they open up or down, and this is an x squared. So this is an x minus h squared equals 4py minus k. If it's a positive 4p, it opens up. If it's a negative 4p, it opens down. Then you've got your parabolas that point right or left. And these are your y squared ones. So y minus k squared equals 4px minus h. If it points right, again, it's positive 4p. If it's left, it's a minus 4p. So you're going to get questions on parabolas that have you graph the parabola based on the equation, and then you're also going to get ones that give you the information and you're going to find the equation. So both directions, just like the quiz was. Remember, for both of these, the vertex is hk. P is the distance from the directrix to the vertex, and the focus to the vertex. So the one question that some of you guys on the quiz is, I gave you the vertex or the directrix and the focus, which we had done like in the notes and the examples. You want to find the halfway point between those, and that's the vertex. And then once you have that, then you'd know the distance, which is that p value. If the p is positive, again, it points up or to the right. If it's negative, it points down and to the left. You'll have to find the vertex, you'll have to find the focus, and you'll have to find the directrix. Remember that the focus is a coordinate point, and the directrix is an x equals or a y equals. It's a line. If my parabola opens right or left, which means it's an x squared, that's when it's an x equals, y squared. If it opens right or left, it's a y squared, then it's an x equals. And if it opens up or down, that's when it's a y equals. The last thing you'll have to find on this is the axis of symmetry. And this is also a line. It's an x equals h if it is an x squared parabola, and it's a y equals k if it's a y squared parabola. So if it opens up or down, my axis of symmetry is x equals, and it's the h value. If it opens right or left, it's a y equals, and it's or y equals k, and it's the y squared. Questions on parabolas?
What about when the center is 0, 0?
So then your h, so then you would just not have, it could be like this, then it would be x squared equals 4p, or y squared equals 4py, or 4px. So if the vertex is 0, 0, then it's like that in the red. Then we did ellipses. So there's two kinds: horizontal, which means it's wider than it is tall; vertical, which means it's taller than it is wide. The horizontal had two formulas. One, if the vertex, or if the center's at 0, 0, then it's x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. If the center is not at 0, 0, so it's at hk, then it's x minus h squared over a squared plus y squared minus, or y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. The vertical, again, if the center's at 0, 0, would be y squared over a squared plus x squared over b squared equals 1. And y minus k squared over a squared plus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1 if the center moves off 0, 0, off the origin. Remember that your A is the bigger number this time. So it's not always first. So the order can be switched with an ellipse. The A is the larger, not necessarily always first. A is the distance from the center to the vertices. B is the distance from the center to the co-vertices. And C is the distance from the center to the foci. A squared equals B squared minus C squared for an ellipse. Remember, it's the opposite sign of my standard form.
Isn't it C squared equals B equals
Yes, sorry. Yes, thank you. C squared equals A squared minus B squared. Thanks, Ethan. The major axis equals 2A and the minor axis equals 2B. So if you're actually building this with me, then we've done it once for notes. We did it twice for the quiz review. We're doing it a third time right now. Hopefully by the time you're done with this time, you know it so well you don't even need it. That's the goal. Questions on ellipse? So the same thing, you get the equation, have to graph it, get the graph, or get the information and have to get the equation. So now comes the hyperbola. So this was not on your quiz review. Again, there are two kinds, a horizontal and a vertical. The first is if we have a center at 0, 0. The second center, HK. The standard form, if it's horizontal, is x squared minus y squared, or x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. So the branches are going to be pointing out with a horizontal, like this and this. The vertical is the other way around. Y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1, or y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. And this time the vertical, they open up and down. This time A is first. Not necessarily always the largest. A is still the distance from the center to the vertices, B, distance from the center to the co-vertices. Then we make that little box, and that's where we put our asymptotes. C is still the distance from the center to the foci. I'm going to add on here the asymptotes. If they're vertical, if it's horizontal, it's y equals k plus and minus b over a x minus h. And if it's horizontal, other way around, if it's vertical, it's y equals k plus and minus a over b x minus h. So it's b over a if it's horizontal, and it's x, and it's a over b if it's vertical. C squared equals a squared plus b squared this time. The transverse axis is like the major one, is 2a. The conjugate axis is like your minor axis, and that's 2b.
For the asymptotes, how are they when it's
If it's 0, 0. So if it's 0, 0, your asymptote would be y equals plus and minus b over a x, or y equals plus and minus a over b x. So if there's 0, 0, you just don't have a k and an h.
okay.
But it's still b over a for horizontal and a over b for vertical. So that's everything you need to know, right? Now, of course, you just need to know how to use it. That's half the battle. All right, so we grouped, yes? 9x squared minus 54, x, and 4y, 8y. Bump the 59 to the other side. Then you find the missing spot. You're good on this so far, right? I have to take this out. So 9 goes by x squared minus 6x. Leave the space. Close the parentheses. Take out the 4. Y squared minus 2y. Leave the space. Close the parentheses. Then you did this part right. Add the 9 here. Normally I add the 9 over here, but I have to multiply by the 9 that's on the front this time. So I'm multiplying those together, and I get 81. And that's what I'd add to the 59. Then I repeat that for here. 2 divided by 2 would be 1. 1 squared is 1, so I'm adding 1. I would normally add 1 to that 59 and the 81, but I have to multiply it times 4, which means I get positive 4, so I'm also adding 4.
You don't multiply the 4 and the 80.
No.
That's why I was getting numbers in the thousands.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
That makes a lot
That
of
makes
Is that where you're doing the same thing?
Yeah.
No. You multiply by the number in the front, but you don't multiply by what's there. You know whose notes you could check then? Mine.
Yeah, I could.
On a video. Yeah. So then it'd be 9x minus 3 squared plus 4y minus 1 squared. And then I get 59 plus 81 plus 4, 144. Then I divide everything by the 144. I'm listening. Sophia, I didn't answer your question, right?
Just write the equation.
The answer sheet will say center, it will say vertices, it will say foci, actually it'll say equation, right? So that's part of your answer, equation, foci, and then it will say asymptotes, and it will say leave blank if it's a hyperbola.
And then would it give you a graph to graph on? Or
Yep.
you draw your own graph?
No, it'll give you the graph. You're welcome. Hang on, let me finish this one and then we'll go there. So the equation is obviously this. The center is 3, 1. A squared is 36, which is under the y, so this means this is vertical. A is 6. The b squared is 16, so the b is 4. So on the actual coordinate grid, you'll get a coordinate grid, but on the coordinate grid, I'd plot the center. 1, 2, 3, up 1. And then I'm going up and down 6, up 6, down 6, which means my x stays the same, but I go up 6, so that's 7, and down 6, so that's -5. Then I go right and left b, which is 4. So left 4, right 4. So now that's the covertices. And there's actually no line for the covertices, you just need it to graph it. So my graph is gonna look something like this. And then the last thing I have to find is the c. C squared equals a squared minus b squared, because this is an ellipse. 36 minus 16, so c squared is 20. When I graph that, I'm going to approximate this square root 20 to be a little bit bigger than 4, maybe like a 4.5. So I'd go up 4.5 and down 0.5 and 4.5. That would be my foci. But when I give it as a coordinate point, I'm adding it and subtracting it to the y. So the x stays 3, 1 plus and minus. I would have to simplify 20 to be 2 root 5. And then because it's an ellipse, there's no asymptotes. All right, so group. Oh, that should be a part of that. Four divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. All right, this is the second one. So if you're still working, keep going, and eventually you'll catch up. So 25x squared. And then,
Well, I just had a question.
oh yeah, go.
For my step 2, which is, that's big deal.
So I only had to complete the square once though on this one, right? So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4 plus 4.
So that would mean that k is 0, right?
Correct.
Okay, yep. Nope, that was just a joke.
All right, so my center's 2, 0. I know it's horizontal because it's an x squared minus a y squared this time. So I'm going to go right and left A, which is 3. And those are my vertices. So vertices, -1, 0, 5, 0. I'm going to go up and down the B, which is 5. Those would be my co-vertices. There won't be a line for them, but obviously that's what they're for. Then draw yourself your little box. Draw your asymptotes through the corners. And let your branches go off the vertical vertices, which are here and here. Foci would be right and left 8.5-ish. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5.8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.8. There would be a foci. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.8. That would be my other foci. So I went right and left root 34. So 2 plus and minus root 34, 0. And then the last thing we have to find is the asymptotes. This is a horizontal, so it's a B over A. So it'd be Y equals the K is 0, plus and minus. The B was 5, the A is 3, X minus H is 2. And you can leave the 0 there, I won't mark it wrong, but you don't need the 0. You can simplify it to that.
Would you take that out?
Yep.
Before? Oh, you're not adding it.
You would take it out as soon as, but when you start to complete the square, you would take it off. So the question was, if there's a number on the front of the y squared, let's say that said 5y squared, and I was 10y equals, and the negative was on the other side already. Now I would take this out.
So why don't you take it out of the x before you add 2?
Because I'm not completing the square on the x.
So you only take out the...
I only need to take it off because it's complete the square. Yep. And or if it was, which if you had to complete the square, then all the way at the end it's going to be gone. If it was like a standard form of an equation, it was already given to you, and I had something like 5y squared minus 15 equals x plus 3. I don't know, like let's say it was something like that. I'd have to take the 5 off the front.
Okay.
And then I'd have to move it on the side with the non-squared term, because the non-squared's where the 4p is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the asymptotes for number 2?
Tonight is to complete your review. You want to know tomorrow, take advantage of the fact that we've had some serious time for review this week. You want to know tomorrow what you know and you don't know. And then I will spend the time, like it will be an on-demand question tomorrow. You tell me what you need and I will go over it. Tomorrow's your opportunity to make sure all of your questions get answered. So again, chapter review. I think there's like 20 questions, so take the time to work all the way through, which will be more than your test. And then come to class knowing what you know and don't know tomorrow. Bye, guys. Have a great day. Bye, folks from home. I will also release the feedback on your quiz so that you can get to look at that if you're a person at home. Yeah.
So the tests where there's 6 that we get information on